The invention of the pill around the 1960s and the subsequent legalization of abortion in the 1970s came with the sexual revolution. You see, before these two major events in human reproductive history, sexual relations were restricted to the confines of marriage. A commitment was a prerequisite for sexual relations, and male prosocial achievements were prerequisites to commitment. Thus, by association, male prosocial achievements were prerequisites for engagement in sexual relations. These achievements include having a stable income or a job, a stable residence, and exhibiting the qualities desired in a family man. The Prosocial Achievement Sexual Relations Association was founded on the fact that engagement in sexual activity was automatic consent to parenting, thus women, who are the gatekeepers of sex, really practiced restricted access. In the event that individuals engaged in premarital sexual relations that resulted in pregnancy, that situation was resolved by shotgun marriage, where the man would be forced to marry the woman, all in the best interests of the child who would grow up in a family. Hence, a woman's biology was their destiny. Now, remove all the barriers to engaging in premarital sex by introducing oral contraception and legalizing abortion. Emphasize women's bodily autonomy, tell women what a man can do a woman can do even better, and sing My Body My Choice. Then you have yourself a sexual revolution, a time in human history where women are competing with men to see who can sleep around more. Subsequently, throw out the Prosocial Achievement Sexual Relations Association and you have yourself the easiest time to get laid in human history. To engage in sexual relations, men do not have to exhibit anything since the sexes only have to get the right vibe, as they say, today. The sexual revolution was accompanied by the reduced stigma around single-parent homes, and a subsequent breakdown in family structures. So, all bets are off, and except for sexually transmitted diseases and infections, nothing is slowing down the hookup culture that characterizes modern developed societies. These videos, all uploaded on this channel, provide additional information, including the relevant references, for those who might be interested in issues surrounding the not-so-hidden side of birth control, the relationship between individuals' sexual history and their health, especially in the context of terminal illnesses such as cancer, and the relationship between the number of sexual partners and marital stability. Of special interest with the sexual revolution is how female biology transitioned from being a woman's destiny to being a man's destiny. The My Body My Choice campaign could validate the need for a woman's body to be her destiny since she has control over it, but for a man, who has no control over a woman's body, this statement is subject to some heated discussions which we wouldn't shy away from. To have their destiny determined by the female biology despite having no control, is absolutely insane. Now we move to men's and women's reproductive rights. For the longest time, men, when choosing a partner, have always gone for sexual purity. The historical and biological underpinnings for the prioritization of sexual purity revolved around the fact that paternity testing was not a thing until the 1920s. So, the only way men would, to a certain extent, guarantee that the offspring they are raising is biologically theirs, was by prioritizing sexual purity when searching for a partner. Worth pointing out is the fact that a quarter of women born between 1950 and 54 had their first sexual encounter in their marriage, which dropped to 10% for those born between 1965 and 69, around the start of the sexual revolution. The number of virgin brides also started declining around the same time. 43% of women had only one premarital sexual partner around the 70s, this number dropping to 20% in the 2010s. Over half to two-thirds of women had a maximum of one premarital sexual partner in the 80s, with this number reducing to 5% in the 2010s. This number has been accompanied by a rise in the number of women with 10 or more premarital sexual partners from 2% in the 70s to 18% in the 2010s. The changes in attitudes surrounding sexual permissiveness following the sexual revolution has been accompanied by intense efforts to support the hookup culture. Today, men and women are supposed to be subjected to the same standards when it comes to sexual liberation as what a man can do a woman can do better, in the context of having multiple sexual partners.
Why can't I sleep with as many people as I want to without being judged? When men do it, they're congratulated.
Why do you consider a woman a tease if she doesn't sleep with you after 3 dates, but a slut if she sleeps with you on the first date?
I feel like it's not fair to call a girl foolish for believing what a man tells her and having sex.
Yeah.
And
we're human, just like you.
It's an over and over process. If you have sex with one time, 2 times, 3 times,
but we're not dealing with the same person. So how do I know that this person's gonna be on the same shit that this person was on?
The game don't change.
Who am I supposed to believe? Or am I not supposed to believe anyone?
I have some guy friends that know about my wholeness because like it's the boys and like I can open up to them and they open up to me and I know about like the games that they play. But I think for me, like I be playing the game back. Like you think I like you, but I really don't. I'm just trying to get and keep it moving. And that is different than, yes, I agree. You shouldn't believe everything a man says to you. You should get, in touch with the game. But not every woman is like that. Some women just want to be open and sexual, and that's okay. That's their body. If you don't want to be with them, then don't. They'll be with someone.
But then don't lie about it.
Some women actually enjoy their sexuality. Like they enjoy, like having a good time just like men do. I'm not saying that that's okay. I'm not saying that that's my story. What I'm saying is some women actually like to go out, have a good time and think, you know what, I'm in the moment. I'm feeling this, the situation or this person or whatever. And they just might want to have sex. Why is it such a big deal? Like, you know how you feel when you do it. So why is it such a big deal?
But it's not, Jada, it's the continual, what we're talking about.
Like doing it constantly.
It's the continual process as if either you don't know that they're gaming you, or if it's okay.
But what if you don't care about the game?
If it's truly okay, then why are we hiding it?
But do you think it's okay for them to lie about it? Because there's a lot of hoes that are getting married that they just don't know that they're marrying a hoe.
No,
they just don't know it. If they're not being honest with you about their body count, then they're not being honest.
But that's our point.
Y'all talking about a lot of hoes and
whether you know or not know. So it's important to hide it.
Yeah, what is
y'all keep saying hoes and whores.
You got a hot body. We're talking about body count. A body count is
so are you guys considering these hoes and whores the girls with the high body counts? Because I can tell you right there, that's why they don't say shit. Right. Because why?
I
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I totally agree with you.
And you don't know that they're whores.
No, yeah, because if I'm gonna be considered a hoe, if I'm truthful about what my real body count is, I'm not really gonna get nowhere. I could get wiped up and here you are talking about it ain't real. They gonna break up in 2 years. That's a hoe. He ain't really wife her. They get married all the time.
I feel like for men that they care about body count. I personally do, because I feel like a woman like they could get with a man that has 100+ body count and they don't care. They're like, whatever, an experienced man. And I've heard that from multiple women. They're like, whatever, experienced man, whatever, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. But a man, like, you tell them, like, yeah, I have, like, 15 people. What the fuck? You got 15 people? You've been ran through, you've been this, you've been that. And I really feel like that's not fair for women. Like, men can do whatever, and women, like, are devalued automatically. And I feel like it's because of, by the fact that we are penetrated and not, men like.
Well, life isn't fair.
Life is clearly, as a woman, it's not fair.
But like, you're trying to compare apples and oranges.
Yep.
We're different. Like, I don't have some of the advantages in life that you have, and you have some of these advantages that I have. I'm stronger than you.
Okay.
But I don't have your beauty, right? You can get
that's for damn sure.
You can, hey, fuck you.
And
I'm professionally sexy, you bastard. I can't, like, you can get certain things as a young, attractive woman that I cannot get.
It's a conquest for men to get women. So it's like a prize. But for us to get men, like, you can't go outside and find anybody today.
A woman getting sex is like a man lifting up a stone.
Yeah.
It's like it's a heavy rock. All right, done, easy.
Like, so that's why, like, a man's body count is like a source of pride.
We have to work for it.
Yep.
Yeah, and they hold it very, like. But for women, it's like you can't really brag about that. It's like someone with high metabolism being skinny.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, and that's
like a skinny guy having abs.
Genetics.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah.
The same is not the case in the context of sexual victimization, since women comfortably assume the passive sexual role, thereby ensuring that consent is owned by women, for them to give, and for men to ask because they are the active ones.
In what world does no mean yes?
No means no.
Can a man say no to sex? Can a man say no to sex to y'all? Y'all just came home from the club, y'all drunk as hell off the gas, whatever, and you want some dick, can you say no?
No.
No?
Not at all.
No. Hell no. Fuck no. Shit no. You better not.
Well, how come?
Because I said so.
Can't say no? What happens if you do say no to him?
You don't even know who I am.
Who are you? Who are you?
Safari the Tiger.
The Tiger?
I'm a porn star out here.
You're a porn star?
If it's my nigga and he's saying no to me, bitch, and I wanna I'm sucking your and we fucking at the end of the day.
You just whipping it out.
Bitch, yeah. She gets the shit hard. What are you talking about? We activate that shit.
If you do the exact thing for men and the exact same thing for men, we're coming across and saying this exact same thing on this exact same street in this exact same city and it's the exact same year, oh, there'd be hell to pay. But let's keep on going. Let's continue.
You saying no to me, I'm gonna just assume that you're gay or something.
Wow, why you gotta be gay?
I mean,
To
he
you.
can, but that would give me the impression that he's like gay or maybe I'm ugly or maybe my breath, like something is off because I don't know.
Though, why you can't just be like, nah, man, y'all ugly. I don't want to fuck with it.
No, if a nigga see me, he wanna f you're orgasming right now where you recording this shit. On God. Let's go, D.
Damn. Can a man say no to sex to you?
He can if I can say no to him when he asks me for it.
He can, but if I want it, then I'm gonna take it. Period. You get raped.
You get raped? Damn. Why you gotta get raped though?
Because there is no no. You tell me no and I want some of you, my nigga, you're gonna get
That's
raped.
your dick.
There's no no. Period. There is no no.
There is no no. Cause you know most women they be like, shit, I'm gonna rape him if you say no to me. Like I'm too pretty to say no.
That may happen. That may happen.
What you mean?
He may get raped.
He may get raped.
He may.
Depend on the night. Like you drunk off Henny and you ask for and you say,
I probably won't even ask. I just take it.
Oh Lord, oh God. may God be with you.
May God be with him.
Oh damn. Damn.
He needs some
Oh
milk.
shit.
That is not rape, because he gonna like it, so.
You gonna like it? It said you gonna take it and you gonna like it.
Yep, ain't got no choice.
No choice.
Nope.
No, he can't say no to sex because y'all guys, every time y'all want to go out, y'all know y'all may go at the end of the night is to go sleep with a girl because y'all not trying to be friends with her.
Sometimes we go out to like have fun, like dance some music, get a drink.
Who?
I don't know, but I mean,
You try to do that?
this ain't about me right now.
He can say no, but he ain't gonna say no to me.
Why? What makes him not say no to you?
No nigga is gonna say no to pussy. And then niggas, they'll fuck a bitch that's ugly too. They just want pussy.
Well, I mean, the pussy probably that good. He probably like, you know, some ugly women out here be having water. Yeah. Sometimes.
If you're in a relationship with that person, then I feel like, you know, like she said, it's your dick. But if it's a random person, then it's kind of odd.
Nah, think about it. I'm just hearing this saying, y'all saying is your dick?
Yes.
Y'all just feel like we belong to y'all?
Yes. Just like
I mean, he can, but I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna just tell him, go on your back. I'll do it myself, to be honest.
Yes, they can say no to because some guys need to have standards. They don't want to just anything like waste management. Like
the only excuse he has if he's tired. That's about it.
So really, he don't have no excuse. I'm just saying. I mean, other than that excuse.
If he doesn't have an excuse, then why are you with me?
Today, a man going for sexual purity when choosing a partner is often labeled as immature, insecure, and all sorts of potentially derogatory names aimed at deterring men from the pursuit of sexual purity and uphold women's sexual liberation.
So first of all, if a guy asks what your body count is, you say, none of your business, number one. And then lie, say 5 people.
Nobody's business other than your own, in my opinion. Nobody's fucking business.
If he cares, he's just insecure.
Yeah,
like,
he's a creep.
because it's like, oh, like, am I the best one you ever had? Like, go yourself. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Would you date a person with the same body count as you?
And that's hard to say because I don't even know my own body count. I'm being 100% honest with you. I don't keep count. I haven't
What
kept
if
count
she
for a
lost
while.
count too, though?
That's cool. It's none of my business. I mean, just being all the way 100. I don't need to know what you were doing before me. I mean, I was having a conversation before with another man, Trip earlier. It was like, man, I want a woman who's been around the block a few times. You know how to parallel park and all that other shit. I was like, yo, I love that metaphor right there. That's perfect. Because I don't want to have no woman who don't know what she's doing.
I feel like you shouldn't even ask that.
I would say, do people
like after
was
a
just-
certain
yeah,
amount, or
I
even a
asked
certain
that. I was gonna say, after a certain
age and an amount that you have already had yourself, you should not even ask somebody.
But then too, I know people who want that. They really do value that we both lost our virginity to each other. We were celibate our entire lives when we came together.
Baby,
I
different.
think some people value that.
Remember, women today, just like they did before the sexual revolution of the 60s, still go for socially dominant men, essentially rewarding, which in this case refers to mating with, men's pro-social achievements while still complaining about men owning most of the resources. In other words, women constantly complain of men owning most of valuable resources in society through constant reference to the patriarchy, while they encourage men to own most of the available resources by prioritizing mates with the most resources. Not a single event in human history, including women being in the workplace, has changed women's prioritization of men's pro-social achievements, but the sexual revolution has been accompanied by the expectation of men to drop the prioritization of sexual purity. The labels of immaturity and insecurity for men who prioritize sexual purity in a female partner have been further advanced by their association with the need to suppress women's sexual activity as opposed to anything related to paternal certainty. Based on the statistics provided on the sexual revolution, the need for the modern man to prioritize sexual purity when choosing a partner to settle and procreate has never been more valid, for obvious reasons.
Thanks to CSI and the other cop shows, DNA tests are no longer a mystery. Gone is the suspicion. They're just another weapon in TV's war on crime. But it might be a different story if that weapon was turned on us. And that's not impossible. It's happening to Australian families every day. DNA testing, especially paternity testing, is a booming business, fired up by suspicious husbands determined to prove that the child they're raising is actually theirs. And as you might imagine, that's opened up a whole new domestic battlefield, new charges of betrayal and revenge.
For men tend to be what's called R-selected, meaning that they breed in number, like they spread the seed, right? For women, you can't do that because you've only got one cell that gets fertilized, and you have the higher investment cost when it comes to reproduction. So you're going to spend 9 months knocked up with a baby, and then you're going to, at least in our evolutionary past, speaking wise, you're going to spend at least 7 or 8 years raising that child from complete helplessness to being able to put food in its mouth, right? So to self-sufficiency before you can have a brother or a sister. Now, usually it happens like 4 years or something like now because we have modern medicine and convenience, but that used to be the way it was. Women have a higher threshold for finding the guy who's quality, who's going to exhibit being like very good looking, arousing, the guy you really want to bang, but he's also got to be the guy that has the 3 Ps: protection, provisioning, and parental investment. He has to be the guy that's going to stick around and protect you while you're pregnant, because women are the vulnerable sex. And the reason why they're the vulnerable sex is because they have the higher investment cost when it comes to reproduction. Now, today in modern times, finding that in the same guy is next to impossible. So that's why cuckoldry comes in, where you can have sex with the hot guy in the foam cannon party. You can get the hot alpha guy, get alpha seed, beta need, right? You mate with one guy, breed with that guy, and then convince the beta
get the sugar daddy to pay you $1,000 a month.
You tell it,
pay your rent.
Again, you know, what is it? Chris Rock says, who tells the bigger lies? Women. It's your baby. Yeah. When we're looking at guys who want to be the guy who's going to stick around, they're trading off their mating strategy to accommodate your mating strategy. When my strategy is I want to get with as many chicks as I can, but I can't because I'm going to have babies with you and till death do us part, and forsaking all others in sickness and in health, and rich or poor, or all the marriage vows. If I'm going to promise that means what I'm doing is I'm sacrificing my mating strategy of unlimited access to unlimited, like I could get with a lot of girls, but you're special and I really love you and I really want to have babies with you and we're going to have a life together and you do all that great stuff. I'm sacrificing my mating strategy to accommodate and to consolidate and optimize yours. The only stipulation is, well, you still got to bang me, right? Because I still want to have sex, and if I'm giving up, my mating strategy, I got to have that. But but the most important stipulation, the kid has to be my fucking kid. Men have to, historically, evolutionarily speaking, have always had to invest themselves and be obsessive compulsive about paternity. So when women say, oh, a real man takes care of other men's kids. No, that's a social convention that's meant to satisfy that optimization, because the guy she had sex with and bred with, is not the guy who's sticking around. So we've got to convince all these 80%ers. We got to convince all these
Average
beta
guys.
males
Average guys.
to think they're heroes and they're white knights and they're superheroes. Step up to I'm the dad who stepped up. I'm not the stepdad, right?
Yeah.
So that's the popular meme. That's the popular social convention to get those guys to optimize to the alphas you had sex with that you're having the babies. He's still sticking to his sexual strategy and nailing other chicks. It's the beta cuck, the blue pill guy that says, okay, baby, I'll be happy to step in and I'll help you take care of the kids. And suddenly he's the noble soul for having done that.
Yep.
And that's part of the mating mechanics of what we have right now. But for me to accommodate and to optimize a woman's mating strategy, I have to sacrifice my own. That's what I call the cardinal rule of mating strategies. For one sex to optimize their mating strategy, the other one has to compromise or abandon it.
Bam.
So when, like today, it's usually abandonment for men. Like men have to say, okay, forget it. I'm just going to stick with this one girl because that's their only option. They're not a porn star, man. They can't go and knock it out with a whole bunch of girls. So what they do is they fixate and say, okay, monogamy. This is my best shot at reproducing. And so even if I got to take care of some other guy's kid, the chances are that somewhere along the line, she's going to have my kid too. And it becomes the new form of a mating strategy for beta males. So that's why when women say, well, you're a superhero for knocking it out with a bunch of guys. Yeah, because he's sticking to his mating strategy and not accommodating your mating strategy. While at the same time, when women are, slut shamed or you're loose for that. The reason it's not that you're loose or you're slut, it's you're a bad bet for paternity.
Yeah.
You're a bad bet for me saying that might not be my kid. And even if we have DNA testing and everything else, my evolutionary psychology, my lizard brain, my hindbrain still says, yeah, she's the town bicycle, and everybody gets a shot at it right there. And I don't know that if the kid's going to be mine or it's not going to be mine.
The only good news about this story is I got two guys who both want to be the father. That's the only good news. When it comes to Marissa, Tyler, you are not the father. When it comes to 10-month-old Marissa, Jacob, you are the father. In the case of 10-month-old royalty, Daryl, you are not the father. In the case of 1-year-old Shadalia, Terrence, you are not. I ain't never going. I'm not. In the case of 1-year-old Logan, John, you are not the father. We are done! We are done! You will see my lawyer tomorrow morning! In the case of 23-month-old sire, Terrell, you are not the father. In the case of 3-month-old Cassette, Matt, you are not the father. In the case of 7-week-old Castiel, Zach, you are not.
I told you! You tried to ruin my marriage! You tried to ruin my marriage!
In the case of 18-month-old Hazel, Nick, you are not the father. And in the case of 18-month-old Hazel, Matthew, you are not. In the case of 1-year-old Prince, Amari, you are not. In the case of 3-month-old tyrant, Anthony, you are not. In the case of 2-month-old Lenaria, Floyd, you are not.
As in, you've been a liar? You know what you do.
Here we go.
I mean, come on, man.
Have a seat.
Every.
Okay,
on,
Floyd,
man.
wait a minute. Let me finish this up.
Yep. Finish it
In the
up,
case of
Maury.
2-month-old Lenaria Rodriguez, you are not the father. And when it comes to your old Elijah,
You are the father!
Michael, you are not the father. In the case of 1-year-old Rylan, Colin, you are not. When it comes to 3-year-old Kanaya, Michael, you are not the father. In the case of 1-year-old Kingston, Dez, you are not.
There were a number of things that began to just not quite ring true. People making comments that she didn't look like me, whereas my older daughter did. And
Chris refused to believe it at first, but the nagging doubts wouldn't go away.
The little one started talking about her other dad, her other father, and that made me, well, first I said, I am your dad, there's no other dad. Oh yes, there is, there's my other daddy who comes to visit.
So, you've got suspicions about your child. Well, as thousands of Australians do every year, you can have a DNA paternity test done in secret, and it's completely legal.
It is safe to assume that the presenter is not exactly delighted by the fact that DNA can be done in quote-unquote secret in Australia.
We met in a small town where I used to live, in a pub on a Sunday afternoon, I think it was, and things just escalated from there. We spent the night together and yeah, that was about it.
Did you want to get pregnant?
No, I wasn't out to go and get pregnant. It was quite a bit of a shock. Yeah. I'd been seeing another guy in Mount Isa that was a regular type of, like ongoing sort of casual relationship that I was in at the time. But that had finished like a week prior, so it was a bit of touch and go of who it was at that stage.
Michelle decided to raise Joel on her own, but then, 8 years on, to receive the family tax benefit, she's been forced to nominate the father and to tell Joel the truth. What have you told your mates about your dad?
Or that I haven't had one, or I thought I didn't have one.
What is it like not to have a dad?
A bit sad.
1,000 kilometres away in Mount Isa, 35-year-old Noel had all but forgotten that one-night stand, until, out of the blue, he was told he had to take a paternity test.
I was the first one that she's contacted because I was the easiest to find.
When you first got that letter and you're asked to take this test, what was your reaction then?
Oh, it was like a joke. It was like, there's like no way that I could ever be the father. You know, I'd only known the girl for like a matter of hours, and especially since he had other partners, I just thought there was just no way it was me. I couldn't believe that they sent me the letter.
In an instant, Noel's world was turned upside down.
I didn't think I was going to be the father, so I was kind of pretty cocky about it, you know. I thought, yeah, I'll be right.
So it must have been an even bigger shock.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty bad. Like receiving that letter saying that you're the father, that's pretty full on. basically your whole life changes forever.
As the biological father, Noel doesn't have any choice about paying child support, but he does have to decide whether he wants to be a dad to a little boy who'd love to have one, a little boy he's never met.
One night stand, guy moves on with his life, a baby is born, he's never informed until 8 years later when the mother needs something, and just out of the blues, someone's life has changed completely. Hold on to the idea that because the guy is the biological father, he doesn't have a choice of whether he wants to be a parent or not, since child support is mandatory.
Back in Mount Isa, Noel is working long hours to meet his child support payments plus $6,000 in back pay, a ludicrous penalty for missing payments he never knew he owed.
Now, I guess you do tend to think of yourself as a bit of a sperm bank with a checkbook.
Chris is about to find out whether his youngest daughter is really his.
The results came back, and unfortunately she wasn't my daughter, my biological daughter anyway. It's a real shock when it comes, a real shock when it hits you. You think you're prepared, or what if the results are negative, and of course you realise there could be that possibility, but when that letter comes it just blows you away.
For Chris, like so many other men, there's an added hurt, the certain knowledge he's been betrayed.
There'd been no sexual activity for almost a year, and then one night out of the blue I was jumped upon, and you think that all your Christmases have come at once, and that suddenly your wife loves you again and believes that our marriage has got a chance, and I honestly thought things were looking up. And then, of course, very soon after that, the announcement that, oh, I'm pregnant, so we can't have any sort of sexual relationship anymore.
What you're saying is you were set up to believe that you conceived this child together.
Yes, I was set up to believe that she was my child.
By now, Chris and his wife had separated. He was financially supporting both daughters, the youngest living with her mother, the oldest with him. Faced with mounting bills, Chris questioned why he should pay for a child who wasn't his.
It was getting to the stage where I was almost going to have to sell my home or start selling all my possessions.
So then you pulled out this trump card.
I did. I would have been continuing to pay child support payments, which, if you do the sums, works out to around about $140,000. And I think as soon as she turned 18 and child support stops, I would have been told, guess what? She's not your biological daughter.
You have learned one of the primary ways paternity fraud comes about, and if you thought it was only limited to those who are single or dating or just hooking up, well, there you have it. No intimacy for the longest time, then all of a sudden someone is interested, and that's how you become quote-unquote the father. Two interesting things to pick up. 1. Under Australian law, separated parents, including same-sex parents, have a duty to provide a proper level of financial support for their children. 2. If a child support payer is found not to be the parent of the child, a court may order repayment of any child support that has been paid. Clearly, child support is not gender-centered. So if both parents are responsible for the financial support of their children, he's living with the older daughter, she's living with the younger, who it turns out is not his, why is he financially responsible for his ex-wife and the younger daughter? Why isn't she paying him child support for the older daughter, which would even out? Hence no one would have to support the other since each parent has one child. The whole setting someone up also happens outside unions. Imagine that lady that you have always been interested in for the longest time and she kept rejecting your advances, and one day, out of the blues, she's interested in you. Since you pursued her for so long, you think your lucky day is here, not knowing that it is her lucky day. She got to pick the mate of her choice, and once that mate wouldn't sacrifice their mating strategy to assume responsibility, guess who is the next best thing for her? But if men don't want children, they should keep it in their pants, right? Try tell that to women seeking abortion services, or bring it up in an abortion debate, and share with us how it goes.
What do you think is the predominant motivation for men seeking paternity testing?
It seems to time with after separation, so it seems to be a strategy to avoid, delay, complicate, avoid child support responsibilities.
Elspeth McInnes heads the National Council of Single Mothers. Is there as much deceit and betrayal as some people believe?
We find that the deception most of the time is men who are wrongly and dishonestly denying their children.
There's now a move to make it a criminal offence to do what Chris did, take a child's DNA without the permission of the mother or the family court.
The mother didn't ask my permission to have an extramarital affair and to go out and have a child on the side, out of marriage, out of the wedlock. So I don't believe you need their permission to have a test.
Requiring the mother's consent in paternity testing just advances the perception of fathers being secondary parents and mothers being the primary ones. Well put by the gentleman. If she didn't ask for his consent to go have an extramarital affair, why should he require her consent to determine whether she had an extramarital affair? Do you think the perpetrators of paternity fraud would quote-unquote consent to paternity tests? If a man then asked for their partner's consent for a paternity test and they refused, what goes through the man's mind? If child support could be reimbursed by a court of law once a man proves that he is not the biological father in Australia, it would make sense that those who receive child support would want to complicate the process of reversing child support. The consent or court order requirement being championed by the National Council of Single Mothers in Australia is similar to the French law of bioethics, enacted in 1994, effectively banning undertaking DNA testing privately without a court order or medical approval, failure to which an individual is fined €3,750. Some of the reasons DNA testing has been banned include anxiety from some of the outcomes, such as finding out about genetic exposure to some terminal illness, which may cause stress and also preserve the peace of French families, which could be disrupted by the discovery of paternity fraud. Worth pointing out that banning private DNA testing has not stopped it since the kits are ordered from Britain and America. Also worth noting is the fact that, while the National Council of Single Mothers is pushing to criminalize paternity testing without the consent of the mother, abortion is legal in Australia and women do not need the potential father's consent to seek abortion services. Australian women, just like many more nations across the world, are allowed to opt out of parenting through abortion without the consent of the potential father, and also adoption. Australian men, just like many others across the world, do not have that much of a voice or choice after conception. While the woman gets to exercise choice in determining whether to keep a baby or not, once the woman decides to keep the baby, the man doesn't have any way out. If she decides to terminate the pregnancy, it's her body, it's her choice. Is his money his choice? Does he get to decide what he does with his income? Yeah, on Mars maybe, not on planet Earth. Her biology becomes his destiny, while he has no control over what she does over her body.
I wonder if it's working.
For some men, knowing whether they're the father is everything.
Okay, Zoe, I love you very, very much. And Alyssa, your dad loves you more than anything in this world, darling. Okay?
Terry Mitchell thought he had it all. His girlfriend Zoe had just given birth to a baby girl.
Love you both. All right.
But behind these happy family scenes, there were terribly destructive doubts.
Are you happy, Zoe? Are you happy? Zoe, are you happy?
Why?
Because I'm asking the question.
Terry told friends and family he didn't know if this little girl was his, and he didn't believe the courts would let him do a DNA test to confirm it.
So why do you think he chose this place? Because it's peaceful, isolated.
It was Terry's sister Kathy who found his body. Terry had driven to his favourite beach and connected a hose to his car's exhaust pipe.
And I jumped out and just started smashing his window with a tackle box to try and save him. And then Daniel had to smash the window with a crowbar because they just would not break. This is your younger brother? Yeah, it wouldn't break.
We will never truly know what led Terry to this. All we do know, from the suicide note he left, is the night he took his life, he got a phone call from Zoe telling him his baby daughter wasn't his.
Do you feel angry towards him at all for giving up?
I do, but I don't, because the pain he must have felt to do that would have been unbearable for him.
How sure are you that he took his life because he couldn't confirm the paternity of this little girl?
He was frustrated with the system. there seemed to be forces stopping him from trying to find out whether the child was actually his child. He said, I love that child dearly, but I need to know, as its father, whether the child's mine.
Hello, Lone Fathers Association.
Barry Williams runs the Lone Fathers Association and had counselled Terry in the weeks leading up to his death.
They ring me and I book them in.
How many other men are you aware of who've taken their lives because of this issue of paternity?
Quite a few.
Really?
Mm.
What's quite a few?
Oh, probably a couple of dozen. They found out that the child wasn't theirs and they just couldn't take it and did away with themselves.